You are listening to the Techie Leadership Show with Bogdan and Andrei. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Techie Leadership Show. Today with us we have Florin Badita. He's a leader and movement founder of Corruption Kills and Nefiresc. Florin is a developer at heart with a passion for humanistic pursuits. And when I say humanistics, I mean human rights and responsible growth activism. He was named by Forbes Europe in their under 30 listing and has helped organize the biggest protest in Southeast Europe with over 600,000 participants. That's an amazing number. Hello, Florin, and welcome to the show.
Hey,
Hello, first of all, thanks for inviting me. And thanks for creating this show. Like, I think we need more shows like your one and more because I'm a tech at heart, as you were saying. And for me, when we have this is a kind of safe space where we can discuss about different things related with technology and yeah, it's useful.
yeah, it's something that we saw the need. We're techies also, and we work with a lot of technical people. And when it came like to stepping in more of a leadership position or even acting as a leader, it takes another skill set than just being good at tech, doing the job itself.
Exactly. Like, the social part becomes more.
Exactly. But before we go any further, Florin, do you want to add anything else about yourself?
So I'm a volunteer at heart. I don't believe I would be now where I am if I would have not started. And actually, at kind of older age, I started doing volunteering around first time at 17 years, but after 21 years, I really started doing volunteering. And I really consider that if I would have not done this, I would probably not have done what I've done in my life. It would be something totally different. It helped me kind of have meaning for myself and create meaning in some of the things that I'm doing. So yeah, volunteer by heart. And when you can volunteer your time or your resources to other people to help or in other communities.
So how has volunteering changed your life, Florian? Like how did it enrich your life?
Oh, it helped me kind of understand what I want to do because I was a teenager without any purpose, and I was like, okay, what's happening? What's the meaning of life, and how I'm included in all of this? And volunteering helped me by meeting a lot of people that were helping other people in a disinterested way, like without expecting any financial rewards or something else, just for the joy of passing that information or improving the quality of life or informations of other groups. And I don't know, for me, it was something that I didn't had experience until then in like what I had around my family or what I had around the school or high school or other things like that, where it was everything was designed as a competition. You have to get the best grade. You have to a lot of different things like that. And volunteering is mostly about collaborating and collaboration.
Yes.
And we don't learn about collaboration, about teamwork in school or in other parts. So from that point, for me, it really helped me because it was like free learning and improving much more hands-on.
Yeah, and I imagine that in such environments you have people that have knowledge and they want to share it. And as you said, like collaboration, it shows you like the world also has like a really good side. It's not all competition and being cutthroat and being like in business, basically.
Exactly, and I think you are able to learn much more faster. Like I'm now still trying to do as much volunteer as I can, but mostly I'm working on. Wait a second. I have a bunny which is chewing the furniture
No
and
problem.
That's not a
What's the name
problem.
of the bunny?
Lilu Dallas Collector.
Lilu. Hi,
Oh,
Lilu.
hi, Lilo.
That's good.
So yeah, in people in volunteering, they want to learn and to pass that information to others just because they find it useful. So there is much more sharing going on and much more transparency between the parts. So yeah, you can accumulate and you can use, like I remember when I started doing some of the events, I was using the templates that I have used in different projects because we already done that. We know, okay, kind of what worked, what didn't work. So let's just utilize what we already have and then improve it, and then also share it back with the community because like, hey, I did this event with 100 people. And my suggestions, if you want to do it with 100 compared to 50 as you do it, is use 3 facilitators and whatever, this kind of thing. So yeah, it's learning. Yeah, I know, I love
And
learning.
also for our more pragmatic listeners that are kind of in awe by the concept of volunteering, FYI, when you volunteer, and volunteering in general is a great way for people who do not have a set experience or workplace experience or job looking experience or the necessary skills to be able to make that step from being a student or being a young person uh, to the workplace. So as Florin mentioned, it's a great way for people to make that transition from the benches of the school system into the corporate or private or public sector. Because even if it's your first job, if you had experience volunteering, they'll ask you, well, what experience do you have? And just like Florian, well, I've had experience leading 50 people to organize a special event. We had to raise funds, we had to make marketing materials, we had to create, and we had to do it all on a budget or create a budget. And people are like, well, you have work
A
experience, you
lot
have
of skills.
you have
And most
valuable
of the
work
time, you will not
experience.
have that much budget. So yeah, you have to learn to how, like you learn more, like you learn to think like an entrepreneur in a way because you have to create a lot of things, but without having that much. Usually, when you're in a company or something, you will have a budget of like $50,000 and do this, which is much simpler than, okay, you are in an NGO or a project with 5 different people and you need to scrape $400 to do some Facebook ads and whatever. So I think, yeah, it also helps more about how you can bootstrap something or kind of be at the kind of in the startup mentality of
Yeah,
getting something
Exactly.
off the ground.
And I also think you get to see and learn the best kind of leadership because when you have a group of people that they're not paid, they offer their time, you cannot boss them around or to get them to do stuff. You have to learn how to collaborate, how to be a true leader that inspires people to follow them, and it's not based like I pay you, that's why you have to do what I'm saying. So in my opinion,
Exactly.
it's the best kind of leadership and it's true leadership. It's
yeah.
not
And,
based
and the
You
on
have to.
motivation, exactly, like the motivation of the people is just they will follow you or your idea or your projects exactly because they will believe in it and they can quit
Yeah,
anytime they want, and they're not like, okay, I'm not gonna pay you. Pay me what? I already pay my bus ticket and
yes.
everything,
yeah.
so you
You,
cannot.
it,
And yeah, it's a learning experience. Like I remember some of the first times, or I remember when we had a project called the Activist House, and we had a team. And for me, I was trying to control a lot of the process or like how information should flow inside of the organizations.
micromanage.
Kind of, yeah. And yeah, and then I had like half my team leaving. And it was like, okay, in my mind, it was like, I think it's still more efficient to have it like this. And then we have everything documented, all of the processes. So even if this team will dismantle, then we will have the data will remain for the next team, which, yeah, is a point of view. But yeah, you have to remember that you're working with people and some of the time, you do better, yeah, let them handle the processes and don't try to manage it, especially if you don't kind of do something from the beginning and you're trying to change. Like if you get
Yes.
people used with one technology stack and then you want to try another one because it would be more efficient, you will find a lot of resistance from people that, okay, I just started learning to use this and now we want to change because of some other feature or something like that. We don't want to do that.
A very valuable lesson learned. But before you share any more stories, I have to ask you the question first. What is the biggest leadership success story that you have witnessed personally?
On myself or the people that I've seen, or
It can be your story or
it can
people
be
that you've seen. Depends. You
something
can
that
choose.
you have witnessed. You have like a personal point of view, seeing it
Because
unfold.
you saw it unfold.
I would say my colleague Angie from Corruption Kills, because like for me, I'm really more about the tech part and about managing communities, but more I prefer like handling the tech stack and optimizing so we can have like 1,000 people collaborating and they will message me or they will need. I'm trying to get us. I'm trying to be a facilitator mostly, to
Okay.
just facilitate so other people get their stuff. They don't need to know that I'm even there in the loop, if it's possible, because then things can be automatized. If I'm there, then I become the bottleneck. So I prefer not to be the bottleneck. But Angie is an example of a leader. She was, before coming to the protest and before joining Corruption Kills, she was kind of an ordinary citizen as others, which and going to parties and other things like that. But then she started getting more involved, and she become kind of the voice of the protest in the street, like the person that was in the street and people were looking to her, and the police and the gendarmes are coming and they negotiate with her. And I think here you can see that person, that she's coming from the rural area, that now she's in Bucharest, and now she's leading that part, the street part of the the protest, and she's doing it in a really authentic and human way.
Yeah, which goes to show that leaders aren't born; they are molded by their environment. Anybody can
For
be a
sure.
leader if they just come up to the plate and bat.
Yeah, if they rise to the occasion. So, what, seeing the transformation, what would you say, like, that it unfolded? What lessons have you learned from it?
uh, a good team is composed of multiple persons with different skill sets. Like on the tech part, okay, I'm really good, but on the some of the times on the human part and the collaboration with a lot of the person, especially if I have to do things that, like, sometimes I like to micromanagement, to do micromanaging, but like on the processes side, like how the processes should look. But some of the times I prefer not to spend all of the time in the street doing some of the things. I prefer to externalize this so somebody else can handle this and I can do my part. And in this sense, like in our team, we have another colleague, which is Emilia, which we call it kind of the heart of the team, because
Okay.
she's kind of the more humanist person. She's an artist. She more with philosophy, more with kind of human understanding and emotions. And I think it really helps depending on what teams you have. Like in our case, okay, we have a community with over 100,000 people online, in an NGO, and we are organizing protests and putting pressure on corrupt politicians, basically, or other people that are doing corrupt deeds in Romania and other parts. But yeah, and we need a team that has the different parts. We need somebody that is really good at legal, and Angie was good because also she studied law. We needed somebody like Emilia, we needed somebody like me to be able to do the technical part. So we needed somebody that's really good with graphic design. So have this team that can complement each other and they can improve and allow disagreements and allow different things. Like don't that not everybody has to agree on everything. Like it would be sad and boring. Like the idea is to have different points of view and try to discuss them and see like, okay, why do you see like this and try to learn from each other, because we are all biased, even if we accept it or not, we are all biased.
So that was exactly my follow-up questions. Having people with such diverse backgrounds and experiences, how do you manage the conflicts that appear? Like, what's the secret to still have cohesion inside the team, even when you have different points of view and different experiences?
So we had some conflicts in the past, and we decided that some of the colleagues that we had, we will not keep them in the team, because there were different parts that we couldn't get to an agreement, and instead of keeping something that it would create something that is dysfunctional for the whole team, then it's better to remove that person for the team. And some of the times it's good to understand if maybe you're that person, then you have to remove yourself. So never consider that, okay, all the time the problem is at other. Maybe you're the problem. So if you identify this, then see how you could move back and leave somebody else to fill that role. And I think this would be one of the learning outcome. And what we tried, because at least at the core of the team, we try to keep it as small as possible, to not go over, like, let's say 50 people or 20-30 people, so we can kind of still have a circle of trust and have open discussions there. And we had a lot of disagreement on different parts. Some of the times I would start, I don't know, post something and kind of without consulting our colleagues, because it was either, okay, this is something that happened now, or this is something that it would be useful, and it would take like 4-6 hours until all of the colleagues would see it, and that would generate some of the discussions. But overall, we, like, my approach and what I try to instill in the team, like, use your own judgment and decide and think, like, okay, how should be some of the things approach, and try to resolve some of the conflict by yourself. And if not, let's discuss it all in group, and we try to, as much as possible, to use consensus if possible. Like, okay, it's gonna take some more time, and we do have to do some calls and discuss between themselves, but at the end of the day, it will keep at least more people, they will be more engaged, instead of being something more autocratic and like, no, because I said so. Like, I hate when other people were doing this, like my parents and other people in jobs, and I prefer not to do it to other people if it's possible.
Yeah,
And
don't do unto others the things you don't want to be done
exactly.
to you. And you hit the nail on the head when you said like to remove. It's hard when you have to remove somebody from the team because they're not best suited, but it's also important to remember that sometimes you're not the one who's suited and you should remove yourself,
which is hard,
which is very hard. It's along the lines of, I guide others to a treasure I cannot possess. Super difficult to do.
Like,
Test your character.
I just wanted to continue. When I started doing, we started all of we started doing the protest in 2017, 2016, 15, and we were doing the protest, and there was a lot of heat. Like, the biggest television in Romania were all the time posting against me, like I'm paid by Soros and all of the other things. And one of the things that I really considered, and I still consider, is like, we cannot change stuff just by protesting. So this is why we had, like, the activist house, where it was a physical space, 3 stories high, with where people would come and learn and improve and whatever. And before doing the activist house, we wanted to do Profest. Profest was designed as a festival that we wanted to do for 5,000 people, to have 3 days of learning with music, with a lot of different things. and I tried to remove myself, and I removed myself. So I had the idea, I created the team, but then, okay, who will handle it? And we find somebody else that were doing this, just exactly so I will be as far possible, and also because, yeah, then it would have been harder to find sponsor and things like that, because, yeah, this is political, because he's organizing protests, even if, no, we are civic, we are not politic, but people would not
Yes.
Yeah, true.
find
But
that difference.
since you're already touching on the subject and the difficulties, I want to ask you, what is the biggest leadership fail that you've had the unfortunate experience of witnessing?
Oh, some of them I probably could consider fails, but I don't know. I view failure differently, in a way that
Interesting.
I was at Draper University, which is an startup accelerator in a way, in San Francisco, and I was there for 3 months. And one of their motto is, I will fail and fail again until I succeed. And they had a lot of like 10 or 15 different things that we needed to say every day to remember it, and blah blah. It was a lot of fun and a lot of learning, because you are learning from Tim Draper, and he's like a venture capitalist, a billionaire, and he know his stuff. But and also I was a student at the Alternative University in Bucharest, where the idea was also of learning by experience, and failing is just one part of the learning. Like children's, this is how they learn. They
Yes.
will fail, they will hit, they will whatever, and they will understand, like, okay, if I hit my head here, this, ooh, booba, and I prefer not to do it again if I can. So from this leadership failures that I had, it would some of them were because the vision was too great and I was not able to execute. Like with the festival, unfortunately, even okay, we had other team, but unfortunately, we were able to raise just $35,000 out of the $75,000 that we needed. So the vision that I created was too big, and at the end, it couldn't be executed. So try to have I had a lot of fails, and from all of them I kind of learned, because unfortunately I didn't have, like, I don't know, parents, family, NGOs or other teaching me, like, okay, I don't know how to manage team or how to do things or how to organize. And this is why I love the open sourcing and the sharing of this idea, because as me, there are a lot of people that would want to do different things, but they don't know just how to start. So having templates and frameworks for different things like that, like how to do an event and other things like that, I think it would help other people in their journey to do that.
Yeah,
Because I would start doing like events for Nephi Risk, and okay, really naive, and like, yeah, we invite the people and people will come and everything will work. And then, like, okay, but volunteers start dropping, so we need, I know, we need a coordinator of the volunteers that will have this job to speak with them and keep them engaged. And it was a lot of learning in different parts like this, for a lot of the different events that we did, because most of the time was me and a small team, and then other people that would start believing in our idea and like, hey, I'm good with graphic design and I can help. Perfect, thank you, we need this. Hey, I'm good with video, blah blah. Hey, your writing is like shit because you don't know how to pronounce or whatever. Perfect, can you help me write or something like that? Yeah, perfect. And this is how it was, like, okay, we know we are not doing best. There are others that could do it, but unfortunately other people will not do it because it doesn't pay, because it doesn't whatever. So if you want to help us, because we are already dedicating our time to do this, then perfect. If not, okay, thanks for your suggestion, and that's the way it is.
And you know,
So
Florin, you hit the nail on the head, because that's the purpose of this question. Is because usually all the guests that we have, they start to something negative, but they learn a lot, and usually they learn more from failure than you get to learn from success. And that's the whole goal, to convey the message that as a leader, it's okay to fail, and it's good for you. It's healthy. And I'm really curious because you said you went to the Draper
University.
University. You also had the alternative university in Bucharest, where you learn like to fail. And how has it changed, like your perception of failure? When it changed, how did it improve your life?
So I think like we are primed as Western society, at least we are primed to disregard failure and see it as a failure. I don't know how to put it better,
Negative,
but
really bad, something, don't do it. That's how
exactly.
we're.
And then I'm looking at all of the startups and all of the founders and kind of the people that are kind of creating the world of tomorrow, and most of them, they are doing it like this. Like you have an idea and you start doing it and you fail, and then you pivot and you do something else, and then you fail again, and this is how you evolve things. Like we have now safer car because 150 years ago there were some older cars that at one time, okay, we need a seal belt, and added seal belt, and then we needed to make them more economic, and this is an iterative process. And I think this is the same that approach that I think is more helpful to consider when, and this is why I love working in a corporation. I was acquainted to the idea of sprints and how to work in sprints and backlog and other things like that. So instead of I have the vision for 20 years, no, I have the vision for the next 2 weeks, and then we look on the backlog and see what other tasks we need to do, and this
That's
allows you
exactly
to.
that's exactly what I wanted to add, and you basically outlined it perfectly. And this is a major theme that came up with all the guests and all the interviews. So big bonus here for me to summarize 80 episodes for the listeners right now.
Still listen to them. Still go back and listen to them. There are more gems inside of them.
When it comes to failure, and this is a very important part, choose what you are accepting to fail at. So you have to choose something that, okay, what's the worst possible outcome that can come from this approach? This, can I live with that result? Yeah, I can. That is a good thing. Just like you mentioned, as a developer working in corporations, and I've had this experience. Rather than, okay, guys, we need this project, you have 2 years, here's the money, speak to me in 2 years, and then you find out that they failed and you lose trust, you lose employees, you lose money. No, no, no. You break it down in smaller chunks that prove acceptable for adverse outcomes. And my best example that I have for people about choosing what you're willing to fail at and what you're not willing to fail at, you might be willing to fail at when you start riding a bike. You might fall and hurt yourself. That's why it's good to wear a helmet and protect yourself. You don't start with a very steep hill, okay, with traffic at the end. That's not the kind of failure that is acceptable. Might motivate you. I'm not judging. It depends from person to person. So start on flat lands and with acceptable casualties. The other example would be like, you know what? I'm gonna play Russian roulette. So what if I die? Well, that's not a good outcome to fail in. So always make sure, is the failure outcome, well, you can't really foresee it, but just in general terms, is that acceptable to me?
Can I live with it?
Can I live with that? Okay, then it's not failure, it's a learning experience.
Totally agree, yeah. And I like the idea with to agree with on what you want to fail, because on some things maybe you don't want to fail. You don't want to fail maybe on your trust with some of the partners or some of the things, and that would be unacceptable for you and the team to do that. So choose that as, okay, we will not play this with destroying the trust of our founders or our finance, the people that are financing us or the things like that. But we will experiment a lot with, I don't know, new projects and ideas, and be not scared to, okay, start something and scrape it and then do it all over again.
Yeah.
Well, you have to have some principles in life, something you stand for, and you're not budging on those things. Because
Exactly.
that's how you build trust with people. They know
Like,
that.
don't lie. Like, for
Yeah.
us, is like, okay, we will probably, like, when we post on corruption kills, we will try to make sure that is as vetted as possible, that information. And some of the times we will need to retract some information because, okay, we take it from one of the biggest national televisions, but they retracted because they also had it wrong. But yeah, like, we are
Which
trying
can
not
happen.
to, yeah, and we are trying
But
not to lie to
again,
people.
be transparent when stuff like this happens rather than
Yeah,
trying to
exactly.
hide it. Because again, it can happen. It's not the end of the world.
Explain
This is
it
why it's,
to the people,
yeah,
and yeah, this happened because of this and this. Maybe, yeah, if you had something like in the future, we will try to
yeah.
improve, and then, yeah, people will appreciate it, and this will be a learning experience for you as an organization, also for the readers, instead of being something where, yeah, you just then people will forget less.
Yeah.
That's not good. And with that, Florin, what is your leadership philosophy? Like summarizing, looking back on everything that you've done, all the learning experience, what would you say is your leadership philosophy?
Oh, my leadership philosophy, I think, is kind of a relaxed group of friends and co-workers that are trying to create something that they can do much more working in this group, in this community, than outside of it. Like, individually, each of us can do some things really good, but if you want to join something where you will be able to create and provide much more value than individually, then join this. And don't expect to, like, I'm still kind of not really failing, but like, I'm not really good, let's say, at keeping contact with the team. Like, this is why, and we discussed
It's
in the past.
something everybody struggles with.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
hard, especially when
like
the more people you have to talk with, the harder it is to keep in touch.
Oh, yes.
like for me, it would be ideal, okay, I need somebody to be like a people person. That person will not be kind of like the volunteer coordinator, will be more like a people person, which will see with the different people, like, hey, how are we going, blah blah, how can we support you, how are you with this and that. Like, I observe this, and I don't do that, and I'm trying to automatize it. Like, I was working on a project, but currently I have some problems with getting the data from all of the parts that I will needed, which, let's say, the idea would be to scrape like Facebook, LinkedIn, WhatsApp, Gmail, and others, and have a list with all of the persons that I discussed, I sent emails or received emails from, or messages, or the things like that. And then have some small rules. So I can select, okay, different circles. Let's say I have a circle of 100 different people that this will be the key connections. And my aim is to have an open discussion with them at least 3 months. So don't let the conversation get colder than 3 months. And yeah, and this would be kind of the only way that I would probably do it, to keep with other people. If not, then I will definitely forget, and I will get interested in
Yeah,
something
you
Yeah.
else.
need
And
reminders.
Yeah. And
yeah,
to sum it up for the audience, as a group, you are more than the sum of your individual parts. That's the whole benefit of a group. And as Florin mentioned, when he said, okay, I need a more people person and I need a more technical person, always strive to build on the strong characteristics of other people that come in completion over your um, not necessarily shortcomings, but if you're not good at something, find somebody who is good at that thing and they'll help you. And you are good at something that that person isn't good at, and you help them. And together you are better than just two people.
exactly.
It's faster for you to learn the skill that you're not good. You learn faster from the other person, and you don't spend. You cannot become like wear all the hats and do all the
No,
jobs
no,
and
no.
everything. It's impossible.
And that's the whole idea. Your responsibility is, and I've said this to other people who manage teams. Listen, if you have a team and you want to improve your whole team, okay, require of your people only to familiarize themselves with the things that they have shortcomings on. Okay, just help them understand and maybe make some small improvements. Big leaps aren't important. Focus on their strong points, because a 15% increase in improvement in a person's strong point can be way, way more than a 50% increase in his weakest skill.
Yeah.
Totally agree, and
So,
I see myself doing some mistakes some of the times because I had sometimes I had this idea that okay, if I learn to do something, then everybody can do it because I can do it, and then everybody would be able to do it, and this is totally false. And some of the times I was trying to teach some things to the rest of the team that yeah, maybe in retrospect it would have not been that relevant for the position that they would had. Like it would be a useful life skill, of course, like I know how to search better on internet, like using Google advanced queries, or how to do web scraping, which yeah, for me is really nice, and there would be some use cases, but for what they had to do directly I wouldn't made sense.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it makes sense for them to just know that things like this are possible.
Yeah,
Not
exactly.
necessarily understand the ins and outs, but just know that A, well, these things are possible, and B, if I ever need something like this or if it's relevant, I can always speak with Florin and ask him, Florin, does this make sense? And he will vet my idea like in
Yeah.
2 minutes rather than me spending days trying
Exactly,
to
yeah.
see if I can do it, if it's worth doing, if the result is good or not. So again, it goes back to transparency, collaboration, and working and knowing people's strong points.
And regarding with knowing the people's strong points, like one of the things that I also didn't, because I'm trying to think everything like technological stack in a way of how I can learn these things in a more automatic and more transparent way. And maybe you have some ideas because I was not able to find like a free version of this software that would do that. One of the things that I tried to do with the team at Casa Activistly, the activist house, it was and it was yeah, it was a long list of around 50 to 70 different characteristics, and like one of them would be like okay, programming level, interest in music, photography experience, different things like that that were either soft skill, hard skill, experience, like speaking in public and things like that, and people could rate self-rate them between 1 and 5, and they could also say between 1 and 5 also how interested they are in that topic.
That
So
skill.
okay, I would
Yeah.
see web scraping, there will be 1, but my interest is also 1 because I don't even know that word for some people. So this was one attempt that we tried to do to be able to kind of know okay what is the biggest assets and the biggest shortcomings, and how we can upgrade it. But this was in a program that was paid, and we were not able to pay because like some hundreds of dollars per year to just have this functionality of being able to assess people
No,
needs.
to be able to do it, it's a multi-step process. First, you would need some place that where you list the skills or the traits that you want, and then you have to define them, and then you need to have like a short tutorial to explain to people, to give them like a short intro what it is about, because for you data scraping, it means something because you have experience for it.
Yeah,
For another person, maybe an older person, if he hears data scraping, if he understands the term, he thinks hacker. Okay, so his interest in that is zero, or call the police, mama, right now. So you would need to predefine the terms, give a small intro, and this is very important. Make it look fun.
yeah.
But the idea is if anybody of our listeners knows of a solution that's open source, please reach out to Florin or to us, and we'll give it on to Florin so he can use it and implement it.
It's for a good
It's
cause.
for a good cause.
Yeah, and because I think that would be like I'm looking a lot of the NGOs that are working, and we just got now like Google workspaces for free, because now we are at an NGO, we can apply the via TechSoup, and we have this Google Suite. But if not, you don't have that much programs that you can use, and especially if you have an NGO or if you have a small civic group, you don't have the budget for things like that. And anything that we can find that is open source and that could be included in a technical stack, that could be helpful for a lot of people that a lot of organizations that would want to do these kind of things, like, okay, we want to be able to assess, like, and this can be useful for us, like for the protest, like we are doing a big protest, we need a lot of people, and we can have like a small set of like 20 different category or less, like interest in, like, I want to help with carrying the banners, I want to help with cleaning after whatever, I want to help with filming or stuff like that because I have some experience. And yeah, having this small utility that would prove valuable.
Tell you what, I'll think about some of this stuff, and we can exchange ideas at a later time, no problem. I'm not really, and even the listeners, people listening, if they have any ideas, we're both open.
Some emails. And
But keeping on track, and you already mentioned this, what would be the top 3 leadership tips that you have for aspiring leaders?
So the top leadership skills for
Tips
for aspiring leaders. First of all, and if you're not already doing it, start reading, but read like fiction doesn't count in your way. Like, it's good fiction and you can create stories out of it, but try to read relevant books that are in a way time tested, let's say, that are I don't know, look at what Bill Gates recommends or other people, and try to imagine, like, who are some of the people that you feel inspired by, and see what books do they recommend, and start reading that book. Try to be as authentic as possible, like try not to be something that you are not. Like, I see a lot of people trying to be something that they're not, and it will not be authentic. And this doesn't mean that, like, because I consider that you can become anybody in life and you can change and you can adapt as possible, but I don't know, be it so it would be something authentic with you, and as a leader style and leadership position, and try not to be unauthentic. Like, if you are the kind of person that usually is, I don't know, speaking the voice call and things like that, don't try to be directly like be total contrast just because, like, I'm trying to be different now, because you are not that person yet, and you're not natural in that way.
Change into that person if you want, but
Exactly.
don't
First change into that
for,
person, and then it would be like a glove. Like, there was a core, like, if you, I don't remember exactly how it was, but yeah, if something along the line, if you do something that you love every day, is not like working or something like that. I don't know.
You'll never work a day.
You'll never work
exactly,
a day in your life. Yeah. And the third tip?
One of the things that I observed, at least in my own experience, from leaders, either from the Forbes 30 under 30 community or from either Draper University, different civic groups, politicians, and people from all walks of life and business, be perseverant. Like, have a realistic expectation, like have a clear goal and direction where you want to go, but be perseverant. Like, if you start doing something and you do it, like, I don't know, you want to do a new podcast and you do 3 episodes, and then, like, no, it didn't work, I'm going to go home. Of course it didn't work. It's not realistic after 3.
Yeah.
If you look at the biggest geniuses in different fields. Like you have, I don't know if Mozart or Bach, but there was a study and it was showing that most of the people that were extraordinary in different fields, if you look, they were also the ones that had written like 700 compositions. So for 700 composition, there will be a lot of shit, but you will also have the 5 of them that would put them on the map forever. So be perseverant and keep going. Like I have some groups that I didn't even manage that much, that I started like in 2010. There were some Facebook groups. I created some communities for Bucharest and all of the neighborhoods. And I have some of them which now have over 4,000 members. And I started them, but then I kind of forgot about them, but they will compound. And especially if you are, I don't know, if you're working on the internet or have an internet related front or something, and then you can kind of leverage the network effect and use that. Like you start something now, and in 10 years or in 2 years or in 5 years, it will start giving results. But be realistic and be perseverant.
Don't expect to happen tomorrow.
Exactly.
That was one of my weaknesses. I have to admit that.
I want everything right now, real fast.
I think we all want that, but
oh yes.
Well, it's more common than not. I usually joke about this. You know, the word talent is something that lazy people use to describe hardworking people. Oh, he's talented, but they don't see the work happening behind. And also to sum up the tips that Florin gave, it's read for purpose, not just for pleasure. Be authentic and have focus. Okay, strive for a goal. Look at it, set some mileposts and guidelines, and focus on achieving that goal. You can
keep at it.
You can adapt it over time. It don't have to be. It doesn't have to be set in stone, but work towards it. Have some realistic expectation and go for it.
Yeah. And I like number 1, and it goes perfectly with the next question, which I have exactly for this reason. I'm asking, like, what is the book that had the most profound impact on you? Because I want to create basically a library, a cheat sheet for people that want to become better.
Shh, don't give out the secret.
Yeah, just go through all the shows and see what people recommended, because they're all amazing books.
And why?
Yeah, and why they recommended them.
My problem
is what is your book that had the most profound impact on you?
That's the idea. I will not be able to choose one. And I don't know, in reality, like half of the books that I've, like 98% of the books that I've read and what I've read in them, I don't remember that much. I remember some small parts. One of the latest that I have read, and for me it was maybe profound because it was a new field that I don't know that much yet. It was Diplomacy, I think, by Eisenhower. It's a book about diplomacy, and this I will send the link. It's about how diplomacy work, and it was fascinating for me to see, like, okay, like how diplomacy helped in the last 100 years. Because before diplomacy, we had a lot of wars, and diplomacy kind of helped to create some back channels to be able to remove some tensions between extremist leaders or between, like, I don't know, idiots like Donald Trump and others. And this can, like diplomacy is a really effective tool in this sense, and it's something that is not that much written because it's kind of a secret thing in a way. And the book was really revealing from that point. I really liked Talking Fast and Slow. I don't remember exactly the author. I don't know, like half of my Audible library I would recommend. But I don't have anything now in mind. There was Hans Rosling. He's a statistician, and he had a really nice book. He died some 2 years ago, I think. Let me see, Hans.
Okay, and the book is
10 Reasons We Are 10 reasons we are wrong about the world and why things are better than you think.
Oh,
And
I know about it. Oh, yeah.
yeah,
That one's really good. It actually shows that the world is progressing and it's becoming better and better.
exactly.
But we have the perception that it's getting shittier and shittier.
And I heard somebody mention why that is. It's actually a self-fulfilling prophecy, because in any society where life expectancy increases, quality of life increases, everything is by all means and purposes better.
Something
Uh,
has to go wrong.
is no, it is a
Okay.
society in which people have too much time spent on self-reflection. And as Nietzsche said, if you stare into the abyss long enough, something stares back.
Yeah.
That that's what happens, because you look at other societies where they have like 15-hour work days, 6 days a week.
They have no
Okay,
time to think
they have
about
no time to think about
and be
how
depressed.
how bad their situation is. All
And
they
also,
know
when
is
they have
that,
time, there will be a dictator that will probably kill them
yeah,
or something.
yeah, but all they know is that they are happy that they make a living. They can, their children aren't starving. Okay, so they're more preoccupied with the now rather than what am I doing with my life.
I think it's also a problem that we have like in modern school systems. They do not give you the tools to cope and to be able to do self-reflection, okay, and really be able to use it as a tool to improve your life, not become depressed by it.
No, it's actually even simpler than that. If you remember your last test or any test that you did in school, when you got back the results, it's never what you did really good. It's always what you did really bad.
And that's
So
the
we're
focus.
taught
Yeah.
to always focus on the negatives. And
Yes.
it's the same thing that happens in working in the corporate environment. Seldom does your boss come and say, you know what? I really like your work ethic. You did a really good job. Yeah, there were some mishaps, but you're on the right trajectory. Nah, that doesn't happen. It takes a really cool boss, and that's the type of person you remember for your whole life.
Yes.
I know. I was lucky. Like the first corporation where I worked was a US based one, but the hasher and the people were really nice. Like I was hoping. Like I heard a lot of stories about shitty stuff like that, and then like, no, actually, my here where I'm working is actually really okay. I was
Yeah.
kind of
And the
waiting for
second
that, but
one,
what?
the second one, how was it?
The second
Second job.
one, actually, I don't have a second one. Is now I'm working at a
Okay,
startup,
so you're
so
still.
yeah, so it's kind of my first and hopefully only one, maybe just as consultant. Like currently, I'm aiming to stay to work remote and not go to a job to work in a
Cool.
cubicle all my
That's the
life
life.
Yeah.
if I can.
When you start hearing bad reports or bad talking, it's like, boss, my connection is
Exactly.
yeah. And speaking about connection, where is the best place where people can go to find out more about you?
So depends. Like if you're Romanian or you kind of understand Romanian, then Facebook is the best because I mostly post in Romanian. Medium if you want to read about some of the things that I'm doing, mostly technology wise, and I will start also posting other things there. Twitter, if I know anything you want to drop me, give me a reply, or I think also you can give me a direct message. LinkedIn, I started working and my plan is to go to 30,000 contacts. I only have 9,000 now, but hopefully in like 1 year or two,
Just 9,000.
Just time
yeah.
flies. Well, that will embolden the people listening to this
Help Florin get to 30,000.
podcast to connect with you. And if you give me the links, I will post them
Yeah.
in the show notes, and people listening can reach out to Florin either on his Romanian platforms or his more international English based platforms like LinkedIn and Twitter.
And also, and maybe this we'll be able to discuss more in future, like my aim and why I'm also having this equipment now, because I'm learning and trying to learn how to start my own podcast, and the idea is also to be a video podcast I have some names like Open Source Society or the things like that. And the idea would be to also invite people that are creating like open source project, and or to imagine different projects that we can create and we can do them open source, like, because like
sounds
when
awesome.
and I think there's the small things that we can, if we can create a solution for them, then we can kind of combine them as a Lego. Like I was trying to see, okay, how I can automatize the fact that, okay, I will use a GoPro for one of the two angles, and then when I put the GoPro either in my laptop, which is a Linux, or in my Mac, go and copy all of this file to a media server or to somewhere and put them directly in that this. The sound should go there. If I use a lavalier, this to be able to copy automatically, so I can create this kind of routines. And the idea of the show would be more about this kind of things, like how we can do stuff that is not yet documented, or we don't know how to do it, and create a GitHub repo where other people can come and contribute. And
that's an awesome project.
Yeah,
it will be our pleasure to help you with anything you need. Just let us know.
For sure, like
learn from our experience.
Exactly.
Not that much, but it's a little bit.
Yeah.
Like because a lot of the things that I don't see that much happening is kind of the behind the scenes of what is going. Like even for you, like, okay, you have this all wired. Maybe you're using Opera broadcasting software. Maybe you already use Zoom directly because it's integrated and whatever. And this kind of details usually are not shared. And one of my aims would be to kind
we'll give you all the details.
We'll give you all the details.
It
no
will be
problem.
our pleasure, and to make
Thank
it as
you.
simple as possible, because we like simple solutions.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and more than that, we'll also give you the motivation behind why we chose one path rather than the other, so you yourself can see, okay,
better.
so if I want this type of result, this is better than that.
Yeah, or if I want that, then it's good, but you cannot use it on Windows. So if you will have a colleague with Windows, is not cross-platform or stuff like that.
It's not just about being cross-platform. It also is about that you will have to also manage other aspects of your life. So everything is easier to do if you only do one thing. But if you have to organize with your group, with other activists, maintain the NGO, go to protests, speak with politicians, there's only so many hours you have in your day. Do your job,
exactly.
okay? So some things might be best suited to your current predicament than others. But no worries, we will exchange ideas. It will be our pleasure to answer any questions you have.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much for coming. A true pleasure.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
That was today's episode. Tune in daily. Rate, like, subscribe, and share, please. Oh, you can find further info and materials in the show notes on techyleadership.com, including links to the guest book recommendations.